start. I mean, what was first? I guess the question I've never asked Don, or and I knew it was Susie because we kind of grew up together. But what was your first Todd Rundgren musical experience? How did you become part of the tribe? The crew.
That's funny. I actually told that story as part of the fan band stuffs, the performances. It was kind of late in 2004. When you talk to the people at Toddstock, they roll their eyes and go, "Oh God, where have you been?" But still almost 20 years. It's my husband. Generally, when we got together, he looked at my record collection and said, I can do better than that. So so he started with the Tubes and went to Todd. And what I did at that point was I said, oh, well, I have Nearly Human. I know Todd. What's next? So I kept pushing him away from teaching me about Todd. We went through Bebop Deluxe and Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson and Sparks and all these others. But I kept pushing, he'd go, here, listen to this Todd. And I'd go, Todd, I'm enjoying knowing the rest. So when Liars came out, we got tickets to that show, which we'd been together almost 15 years at that point, had 2 kids in their teens. I can't explain why the stars never aligned prior to that, but found ourselves in the front row, right in front of the stage at the Fillmore in San Francisco for Liars. And it blew my absolute mind. And then my husband is a devout get to know the artists person. So we went upstairs to what's outside the green room at the Fillmore and tried to get in, and the room completely emptied. Us and the security guard were the last 2, but Cam, being a diehard Tubes fan, when Prairie stuck his head out and saw that we were there, he had pity on us and called us back. And so I got to meet Todd and took a picture and walked away from that just tingling head to toe. And we were walking to the car and I turned around to Camden. I said, give me everything. I want all the CDs. I want everything. I want to know it. I want to learn it from the very get-go, So I went all the way from the NAS all the way through and learned everything. And the punchline to the story I told at Toddstock was there was a show 9 days later that was nearer our house, as it turned out. Got tickets to that, got backstage there, got a hold of Todd, showed him we had a joint in our hand. And he said, he said, this place is run by a bunch of little old ladies. We're going to have to go hide in the bathroom. So we went, I hid in the bathroom. At this point, it's Todd and me and my husband's friend and Paul Wood, who happened upon us as we were heading to the bathroom. All of us crowded around a little toilet bowl and everybody trying to come up with something good to say to Todd. And of course, this was a Liars tour. So Flaw was on the list and there was a sing along to Liars, motherfucker. And so finally I said, oh, that's it. Todd, thank you so much for letting us scream at the top of our lungs, lying ass motherfucker, because it feels so good. And he said, let you? I made you.
Oh my goodness. A few things come to mind with everything that you said. The joint thing. So, I've interviewed Todd 7, maybe 8 times, and twice in person. I've met him backstage, I don't even know, at least 20 times, maybe more. And there was a running joke. I was hanging out with Randy, the guitar tech, one time at a show out in Ohio, and I'm almost at 200 shows. And I said, geez, he's not real good at names, is he? And he goes like this, and he's smoking a joint with the guys that I was going with, and he goes, he remembers the people with the good weed. So I told my wife that story, and she goes, well, then if Todd ever knows who you are, I'll know you're smoking pot.
Oh. Well, maybe.
So, it was just a little funny story. But yeah, we talked backstage at the Liars tour. I had my son. He was my son Trevor. I think he was 7 or 8 years old at the time. I had him out on a school night, and he was falling asleep, leaning up against the barricade. And I was a single dad at the time, had custody of my kids, and Chasm was chucking guitar picks at him to keep him awake. So that was a fun moment. And then finally, you said 2004 was your first year. My sister and brother-in-law, my sister and I didn't talk for like 38 years because of weird circumstances. My mom died, and then we kind of reconnected. And then her husband became this huge Todd fan. I mean, this guy, he had attended Woodstock. He's same age as Todd, 75. And he saw the White Knight tour and became a Todd junkie. So wow. Yeah, the eyes would really have rolled at Toddstock, because it was like, my first tour was White Knight. What are you, 15? No, but yeah. So we all get there in our own time. There are the Woolman Rink people that I'm not one of, or that I was on the Todd album singing Sons in 1984. But at the end of the day, we all kind of share the same love, and it doesn't matter when or where we came to it.
No, true. There was a guy, I don't know if you've spoken to him, but there was a guy in Kauai that he just likes to, when he's experiencing a new musician, he likes to just focus on that musician and listen to only that musician. And he chose Todd a year ago. So his whole last year has just been getting to know Todd, kind of culminating in being at Toddstock. And I mean, you got to have respect for that. Doesn't matter how late he came to it.
Oh, for sure. And the great thing about Todd Rundgren is that his music really has a lot of tentacles. As a Todd collector, I have this huge album collection, and I mean, it's the Todd solo albums, it's Utopia, it's Naz, it's all the productions, it's the, so now you're looking at Cheap Trick, you got Hall & Oates, you got all these different bands that you can sort of discover on your journey just to being only a Todd collector. Similar with Yes, I'm a big Yes fan, and Yes led me to a lot of different groups and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be pretty crazy to have an immersive experience like that. I did go through the entire Todd catalog from the Naz all the way up through White Knight in, about a 3 or 4 day succession. I can't remember how long it took, but that's the closest I've come to the super deep dive. But the real question is, I've never been to a Toddstock, so you got to tell me how the heck you wound up at a Toddstock.
Oh, well, we heard about the 2008 Toddstock. Cam goes to a lot of shows, and he's been hooked up with people like Debbie Summer and others. And so that there's a sort of a loose Northern California group. And through that, I think we found out about Rundgren Radio, and then ultimately started finding out stuff. Because, now that I think back, it's like, well, we weren't on Facebook. How the fuck? What? It had to be email or something. But we didn't get to go to that one. Our kids were mid-teens, and we were just getting ready for our first ever international trip the following year. So it was just, we couldn't just throw that in. But we, sort of like wished we could have. And so we kind of kept our fingers on things. I didn't hear about any of the ones in between. We heard about Navarro when all of that news came up in 2018. And so, we couldn't do Virginia, but when they splintered it, we jumped on Navarro, and that was just heaven. I mean, from what I've heard from people who've been at different ones, it was the original and Navarro have these rainbows over the whole experience. And it was just lovely. And Kauai was lovely too. But the thing that I came away from Navarro with was, if I ever get a chance to go to another one, I will not give it up. I will go. I have a visceral aversion to missing one now.
Yeah, the Hawaii ones, if they've been at a week, I'm a teacher, so it's always the finals week. I can't really take off. And I think there was one that I probably could have done schedule wise, but it was a year that I lost my job. So the stars have never quite aligned for me in terms of being able to go there. But I've still, I've had a lot of great experiences. I know you mentioned Rundgren Radio. I mean, that Akron show where he did A Wizard, a True Star. And I bought there. I mean, Doug always tells me I bought the second or third ticket, but I still swear I bought the first. I mean, I was front row center. So, but it's great though, because again, there are shows that, you know, you being a 2004 fan, I mean, I started seeing shows in 1982. And there's always going to be shows that we miss. There's going to be ones that were before us, ones that are after us, ones that are on the East Coast, we're on the West Coast, and vice versa. But you know, at some point, you know, the fan community as a whole, you know, we figure out a way to let each other know what's going on in terms of communication. You know, you mentioned Rugged Radio, and it's like I was having this discussion, I think, with my friend Susie, and I apologize if I'm rambling too much, but like there's always been like this group or thing that's been able to get the information out. You know, it was Rugged Radio. Before that, you had Utopia Times. Ruth Rundgren ran the fan club for a while. You got the TR Connection, which is the website. So there always seems to be something. But yeah, but I would say there was a bit of a void from, you know, even up to the Liars time before that. It was really hard to kind of know what was going on with Todd, but he really wasn't active that much from 95 to 2004. And someone's screaming at the video screen right now going, yes, he was. But no,
you know, I went through his discography, and, you know, from the start, from the 70s, it was like an album a year. Like he just, and then just before 2004, like you said about the period you're talking about, there's more like a 3-year gap between album releases. And I think that, you know, I mean, in my just rambling thinking, that's sort of when streaming started to take off. And so he had to do more touring. And if you're doing more touring, it's less likely you're coming up with new music. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it does seem like there was a little gap in there. But yeah,
because he did I think the Individuals was around 95, and then one long year. So Patronet, which we'll talk about it because you were there at Toddstock where he talked about Patronet. And I think that maybe is kind of his next, what he's thinking is the next chapter as far as fan engagement is to kind of, because it's a little bit ahead of its time. And he abandoned it at a point where it probably made sense financially, but now looking back on it, it's like, dang, that might be the way to go. I mean, that's the Patreon model. That's, you know, all these Kickstarters. That was well before all these. I mean, that's kind of the norm now.
Yeah. And I mean, he has a lot of musician fans, so they can benefit from releasing music, and he's trying to figure out how to get that better compensated as well. Not just a place to put it, but a place to be compensated for it, as the music industry just doesn't do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and now you got AI, all these other things. It's so much harder. And touring, I mean, 75 years old, love the guy, he's in great shape, but you know, let's face it, I've just turned 57 last week, and I don't travel real well. I really don't. I can't imagine going on a 2 or 3 month jaunt. It's just got to wipe you out with the hotels and the air or the buses and all that stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know, when people were debating, like, where is this Toddstock going to be? You know, I mean, all I could think of was, please don't make him travel. Just please don't make him travel. We can all do it. You know what I mean? It's his God blessed birthday. Let's let him be home. How about that? You know, turned out that we didn't get to see him quite as much because of that, but that's okay.
So what was your favorite part? Like when you got there, I mean, obviously you did the house tour and all that kind of stuff. When did it all kind of sink in that you're like, shit, I'm at Todd Rundgren's, you know, the land of Todd.
We're literally, as soon as we walked through the door, because I've seen that landscape in so many pictures and videos, and Daryl being there, and, you know, all that kind of stuff is just, you know, hits you like a ton of bricks. And it was just so gorgeous. I honestly, I love Dode's song, I'm gonna go hang out with Todd Rundgren again, because that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like you're just hanging out with Todd and a few of his friends. It's there's no feeling like it. And I keep trying to figure out exactly why the Todd fans are so very special, but it's the only thing I can really come up with is that Todd's music is centered a lot around compassion, around love, around healing, around, you know, all sorts of positive stuff. And if we all vibe with that, then that gives us sort of a higher level baseline that we start from. And then of course there's Michelle, who just exudes kindness and speaks it. I mean, she'll get up on stage and say, we are going to be kind to each other, people. That's just how it's going to be. And even if you felt that way already, just having it kind of as a overarching theme of the event, it's just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Hey, now, had you mentioned Rundgren Radio before? Had you been to any of the Rundgren Radio events?
We had tickets to go and I couldn't at the last minute. I forget what happened, but Cam has gone. Camden, my husband, has gone to a bunch of those. He was at the AWATS. He was at, I think they did one in Vegas around, oh man, he saw like Bo Bice do Beatles song or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gone to a lot of the Akron ones. I have never actually been able to go to any of those. I just, you know, work and kids and stuff. Money.
What do you do? What do you do for a living?
I'm a legal secretary.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my sister's an attorney, so we got to get you kids together.
I work from home.
Yeah, she does now too. She just moved from the one I was talking about. You know, she moved from Savannah, Georgia, up to Western New York here near Buffalo. So quite a change. But it said she hadn't lived here for 30 some odd years. But yeah, we're all. I took her to a Todd show. In fact, when Utopia reunited, she was still living down in near Atlanta, and she bought me tickets to that show. So I'm one of those people that I started out as a Utopia fan. I still consider myself a Utopia fan first, and then secondarily Todd. You know, because I love Chasm solo stuff and Rogers, and you know, now by extension you've got Gil and Prairie and all those guys. But really, in terms of a band, I just thought they were the greatest thing ever. And to be able to have seen them even without Roger, which was a little bit bittersweet, was still a pretty incredible experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every time we see Todd, it's worth it. Every single time. Doesn't matter if it's a tour and fully organized or just what did he do? The unpredictable evenings where he just sort of sit on a stool and do what he felt like, or, you know, within limits. I'm sure they can't rehearse everything, but every single Todd show I've ever been to, I've enjoyed. I mean, if we can get there, we go. We always go.
So did you get a chance to go to Tiki and Niki?
We did get a chance to go to Tiki and Niki. It was very good, very cool. And we got served by Keone and got to have him sit with us and chat with us a little bit. So that was nice too.
What kind of stuff did you ask him?
I asked him where I could access his music. And so we talked about his music for a little bit, talked about the Schallbetter twins, because they had just started talking about doing some music collaboration. And I'm a huge, huge, huge fan of the Schallbetter twins.
Oh, very cool. So musically, I mean, was this your first? I guess the term is fan bands, but I don't know. I guess that's an appropriate term. But man, they are some of these musicians in these fan bands are just incredible. Like they're just so good. It never ceases to amaze me.
Me too. I don't know any other musicians, fans that could come up with several forms of a rock and roll band on the same night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we've got 6 bass players and we've got 3 keyboards and they're coming from right and left. Yeah, we did participate in the fan bands at Navarro. That was kind of surprising because they did a bunch of Survey Monkey surveys ahead of time, and there was a question about what would you like to hear the fan bands do, and I said Want of a Nail and Just One Victory, and then they asked if we could sing or play or whatever, and I said yeah, I sing, and da 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 da. And next thing I know, I get a spreadsheet that says I'm lead singer on both of those songs.
Oh, nice.
And I you know, it was not having ever been to a Toddstock, my impression was that they would kind of get the best of the best and make one fan band, and then that fan band would do a bunch of songs, not the kind of stuff that they actually do. So once I saw what it really was, I kind of went, okay. I'm pretty confident about my voice, and so I felt pretty good about that. But I realized as soon as I made myself a little playlist to rehearse and practice, that both songs open with the vocal. I am the first noise. And that's a lot. And and also, you know, once you get to the rehearsal and you realize, like, you know, karaoke is one thing, the song's going to go on just like you expect it to. But this fan band is like jumping off a cliff with a whole bunch of other people and just praying that we're all going to fall in where we're supposed to. And it's exhilarating, and it's a lot, but it's really fun. And I mean, that's just for me. I don't have the anxiety that a lot of people do. But at Navarro, when we did Want of a Nail, when we rehearsed it, they had already created a lyric sheet. And after we got through the rehearsal, somebody mentioned that there was a bridge missing in the lyrics that we had just practiced. And the people that were, you know, running the rehearsal and trying to figure out, you know, they put like too many songs and then they rehearse it down, like, oh, that one's not going to work, we're not going to do that, you know, so that you end up with a night's worth of songs. And so we were already running out of time by the time I had rehearsed that. And we said, oh God, that's right, there's another bridge. And then they just said, you know what, we're just going to leave it as is, just do it like it is, because we don't have time to try to fix it. Then that night when we got on stage, they had fixed the lyrics, but they hadn't told anybody. And I'm not dependent on the lyrics in front of me, but you know, it's a comfort. It's a you know, it's a fuzzy blanket. And so when it came to that part and I couldn't see below it, I knew the band behind me didn't know I was going to do it, but I went into that bridge and there was a kind of a, you know, leveling moment when it sounded like cats had invaded all the instruments. And then they caught up and we moved on, but that was what I wanted to fix this time. So when the surveys came out this time, I said, I need to do that song, so I do it right the first time. And it worked out really well. That was just a gas, a total gas. And, you know, people that had seen it at Navarro and stuff were like waiting for it. It's such an amazing feeling. And as soon as I launched into the first notes, like Pippi and Jean came running for the stage and everybody went dancing and stuff. And it's like you sort of get a hint of what it feels like to be, you know, someone like Todd, who, you know, when the audience just goes nuts, like how that feeds you. It was really fun.
Yeah. Who backed you on that one?
Who backed me on that one? Let's see. Kathleen was my bassist. Lee Rothstein was my drummer. Joan Carlson, bless her soul, was one of my backup singers, and she pulled in the Schallbetter twins just before we went on stage because I had a couple others. Oh, I can't come up with their names right now. I can see their faces that were the background singers, but they just, you know, there's a couple parts that are really important that they come in just right. And Joan just sensed that the Schallbetters could do it better. And, you know, there was everybody, but they did a great job. And then Monty Collum, and that's everybody, right? No, there's keys. Oh, of course, Nancy Brown was my keys.
Wow. Yeah, there must have been 10 or 15 configurations of bands then, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah, it's incredible. It's just incredible. The energy of the rehearsals in the early part of the event, you know, every day, as soon as you come on site, the fan bands are off. Whoever's scheduled to try to rehearse that day, you go to wherever the rehearsal space is. And it's a cacophony. It's crazy. It's in and out, people switching places. And we even had Richard Shellbetter did put together the Utopian chorus you've seen, I think, where they sang along to Shine and Sing Ring and did Lockjaw. And no, there was another one. And that was all in the same rehearsal space, because the band would play and then the chorus was trying to do their chorus stuff. And it's such a wonderful creative energy, hectic and frenzied. And then about halfway through the week, that stuff's behind us and everything gets a little bit easier. But it's a lot, but it's fun.
I suppose in many ways the pinnacle, well, there was probably 2 days. I mean, the Intoxicats. I mean, what a fascinating, just incredible band they are. I mean, they just do some things that I've never seen before. I mean, I don't know why they're not just a major touring act. They're just so much fun. And then of course the Todd show, which was, at some level, it's interesting because I saw Bruce McDaniel play with the Clearly Human band. I was blessed to be able to catch one of those shows in Chicago. But man, it's kind of weird thinking about Jesse not being there. And this would have been something that really would have been kind of a Jesse thing. But what I like about Bruce is that from the videos I've seen, and even after seeing him on Clearly Human, here's a guy that he does his own thing. He's not trying to mimic Jesse or be the next Jesse Kress. He's the first and last Bruce McDaniel. And I love his approach to the material. And, I thought it was cool that Todd wore that shirt of Jesse's. It looked so Jesse, didn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I had a lot of chance to talk to Jesse at Navarro, and you're right. I mean, that event was like his utter vibe. Jesse just soaked it up, and he was just so much fun, and so is Mary Lou. But Bruce did a trivia thing about Todd at the end of one of the performance nights that I think it was just perfect, really, for the transition, because he went on and on about what a Todd nerd he was, and that he expected there to be at least one person in the crowd that knew the answer to every question he was going to ask, even though they were pretty obscure. And he took a minute to just say how beautiful the group of people on site was. And it was just a really nice transition moment, I think, to, he appreciates us, he appreciates Todd, and we'll let him be in the tribe.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to do much. I mean, you could be the guy carrying the guitar on stage, and all of a sudden we all want to know who you are. We start loving you. So it's good to see that he embraces that. He definitely seems like he fits in both from a musician perspective and from a fan perspective. Do you remember any of the trivia questions? I wonder if I could get them.
Oh, I don't remember any of them. I don't remember any. It'd be good to get a copy of that from Bruce. There was one that nobody knew. There was one.
I always my obscure, if we do like a hangout, we're all doing obscure Todd trivia. Very few people get this, but there's only one person aside from Todd Rundgren who appeared on both the Todd album and on White Knight.
Oh wow!
Do you know who that is? Yeah. See, this is an obscure question. I'm gonna let you think on this for a minute.
Oh, the only one I can think of that goes back that far is Kaz.
No. Chasm would have been like 13 or 14 when the Todd album was.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he was young because it's pre-Raw. I think when he joined, right around the time he joined, I think he was like 17 or 18.
Oh, then no way I'll know that.
It's a tad of a trick question, but if you're watching, you can steal this. It's Joe Satriani, because Joe Satriani was in the crowd in San Francisco singing "Sons of 1984" with big chorus. And then he does the song on White Knight with Todd. So,
wow,
there you go. And it's funny, I interviewed Joe, and he had mentioned the fact, and he's like, oh yeah, I was on the Todd album singing in San Francisco. I was like, wait a minute, this guy's, there's a trivia question in the way. And in fact, there's like Todd played with a father and a son. This would be another interesting trivia question. I don't know how I'd frame it. But yeah, he played with the father and son of one artist, and the father appeared on the Runt, I believe it's Runt the Ballad of Todd Rundgren, and then the son toured with him in the Beatles shows.
Interesting. Huh. Well, which ones? The White Album or the
Yeah,
Mickey
both of them, I think. Yeah, both of them. Yeah,
Really?
it's Jason Sheff. Jason Sheff's dad was a bass player for Elvis, and then his father appeared on Runt the Ballad of Todd Rundgren. And I think there's going to be a second one because the keyboardist in Daryl's band who he's playing with is the son of one of the guys that appeared on Something Anything. Don't quote me on that one. I'm not getting.
Well, hasn't he also played with the Starkey kids?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I forgot about that one. We should come up with a scene. Now we're coming up with our own trivia here. Richard, Zach Starkey, and then of course Ringo. So there's another one. I wonder how many other father and sons. He did two. He played with the Sales brothers, so you could do brothers and sons. Brothers and sons. All right, everybody out there listening, come up with your list. Brothers and sons that have played with Todd Rundgren. His own son was on White Knight. I think that might be the only album that his own kid was on.
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Oh. Yeah, it is.
I digress.
This is a Toddstock vibe right here.
There you go. There you go. I wasn't there. Well, my friend Susie, she brought my little picture around everybody, which was really sweet. She sent me some pictures of my picture of my head just hanging out with people at Toddstock. I was thinking to myself, geez, Susie, put a drink in that face or something. Because I would have been the guy walking around with a martini. I'd be like, hello, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and she gave me this too. Along with some other stuff. Man, stuff's falling up. See, look at that. I got an official
good
all access card, so I can hang this on my door.
Perfect.
In case anybody comes over. But yeah. So I'll throw the thanks very much. It's been a very enjoyable conversation. I'm a little chattier than usual. I apologize. I swear. It's I had a colonoscopy yesterday, so I don't know if it's just the anesthesia wearing off and I'm getting my second wind. Nice Todd reference there. But here I am. But this has been an absolute joy chatting with you about this stuff. So I'm going to throw you the three questions that I threw both Susie and Don.
Okay.
And we'll see how you do on them. First one. How was the food?
It was great.
Yeah, everybody said that. Second, what was the thing that happened that you least expected? Like you just said, just this happened, and you're like, oh my God, never in a million years would I thought this would have happened.
Well, it's gosh. I want to say there was a couple of times when things didn't turn out as expected, like with the food, like we ended up having to trek from the stage back, but that's not the kind of thing I think you're looking for.
See, this was a tough question. Susie had a tough time with it. Don, in his warped sense of humor, said being in a hot tub with Todd, which didn't actually happen, but he said it was the thing that he least expected to happen. So he kind of twisted it. So did you wind up in a hot tub with Todd?
I ended up sitting at the table with him a couple of times and chit-chatting and
very different.
But that's not unexpected. That's very expected. But he's aiming for that, Yeah.
The visual of Don Slovin sitting in a hot tub with Todd Rundgren, it has scarred my mind. It really has. It's just scarred it. And I love Don, but you wouldn't want to see me in a hot tub with Todd either. It would be and it'd be even more disturbing because my beard would be getting all wet. It's just not good. Anyhow, final question: what was the peak? What was the big moment where you just kind of stood there and said, "Man, this is amazing.
As soon as I was done singing Want of a Nail, and it went beautifully, and I was redeemed, all 100% redeemed. That was an amazing moment. That was an amazing night, to be honest, because I came off stage and people were, you know, just effusive. It was kind of weird, but yeah, that was the definite pinnacle. And then after that, it was just all fun.
Yeah. And what we, I mean, trip home, any issues? There were people that had some snafus. Did you get out of there all right?
We got out of there all right. We got home all right. We had a problem with, so we live in Bakersfield. We're about 100 miles north of LAX. So in order to avoid anybody having to drive us back and forth to LAX airport and navigate LAX airport, what we do is we do one-way car rentals. So we leave Bakersfield in a rental car, we drop it off at LAX and go in, do our flights, come back out, get a rental car, come back home. So that was the first time that we had done it. We've done it one more time since. We came home kind of late. It was like 10 o'clock maybe when our flight landed. So we had to, you know, get through the airport, get to the rental place. It was late, it was dark, we were tired. The first car I jumped into, I'm a like gold member at Hertz. So they literally just say, go pick a gold car. They have a canopy that says gold and you just pick one under there, right? So the first one I jumped into, and Camden threw the luggage in, there was no keys in it. So we jumped out to the next one. That one's electric. You know, so we go through like 3 different cars, and finally I've just had it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go talk to a human being. And I went and got a human being, and she came out and she helped us get a car that were, you know, a gas car that had keys in it. And we drove the 2 hours home. We got home just short of 2 a.m. and opened the trunk. And I said, where's my backpack? It was in one of the other cars that we didn't take.
Oh,
so my husband jumped back in our own car, because at this point we're paying mileage for the rental car, jumped into our own car and drove back to LAX and found it and came back. So he was home about 5:30 in the morning instead of the 2 a.m. we could have had. But hey, you know, if that was the only, and my husband proved that he loves me more than anything. So that's that.
yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of comes full circle to talking about just the whole hassles of touring and getting around and traveling. And, you know, it's just sometimes it's just not easy, you know, like you said. I mean, look at Foamy. I mean, Foamy is a guitar. This thing has traveled with Todd for how many years? I mean, it was amazing it didn't get lost before it did. And even a bigger miracle that the thing actually returned. Someone else asked me this, and then we'll close with this. Did they ever tell the story? Someone was supposed to tell the story. We're going to find that out. I'm going to have to reach out to Michelle. Yeah, like, definitely. All right, we need a version of that story for everyone to hear, because I'm still curious about it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you saw the posts, I'm sure, like somebody found it at like a yard sale or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it was misrouted, I think, because he mailed it. And I guess that's kind of the thing. Some people mail their instruments, some people use them as carry-ons. And I mean, no matter what you do, it's just a hot mess. But yeah, the guy bought it. I can't remember what happened. He was trying to buy it. I don't know. It's a lie. I mean, I don't remember the whole story. It's not as cool as the Peter Frampton guitar story, if you don't know that one.
I don't know that one.
His one, the guitar that was on the cover of Frampton Comes Alive, was in a plane crash back in like 1979. And it was this really unique Gibson Les Paul. And somebody had salvaged the stuff out of the plane, and it turned out the guitar was okay. It just had some burns. So it was kicking around in wherever, like the Bahamas or something, for like 30 some odd years before somebody actually recognized it at a guitar shop and sold it back to him. And he just thought the thing had been gone forever. So he's still playing it. But yeah, it's interesting when you have, and he had some, what do they call that when they remake the thing? A copy, I guess. Yeah, he had some copies made of it that weren't quite the same. It's sort of like with the Fool. You know, Todd's got a couple of copies of the Fool, but it's it's a replica. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same, but it's yeah. That was one of the things too. Getting to see him play the real Fool back in the day. That was a unique guitar to see live. But anyhow, yeah, we got to figure out what happened to Foamy. We got to hear that story.
You gotta.
I feel like I'm going to be this dogged reporter looking for the real answer to what happened to Foamy. Story at 11.
Oh, that'll be great.
Well, listen, Sharon, thank you so much for agreeing to do this, and thanks for sharing your experience. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of people that attended and those that didn't. All of us in the fan community, we just love everybody's enthusiasm. And somebody sent me a video yesterday that was like an hour and a half long compilation of stuff, and there's a lot of stuff up online. So we certainly get to experience the joy that you did. And someday the stars will align and will align. Maybe I'll get to attend one of them.
Yeah, well, 2 years from now looks like it might be more in your neck of the woods. So
yeah, well, I should have saved that trivia question. But maybe 2 years from now, people won't remember Joe Satriani.
oh no.
All right. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much, and that's a wrap.